Wait, hold on 1 second. Jen's going to introduce you better too. On this down, everybody. Oh, I know. Damien.
It's the worst seat. Well, thanks for telling me now. Yeah.
It's better than the bench of pain.
All right, thanks very much, everybody. Really exciting today, and it's good timing that we've got Tracy Worcester, founder of Farms Not Factories, who's taking some of her very precious time to come and speak to us. The reason why it's good timing that we're doing it today is because it's just a wonderful return to the mission. I know that for my part, when we're doing investor rounds, as we are right now, every conversation I have is always about KPIs and revenue and average order values, and all of that stuff's incredibly important. We need to get that stuff right to become this fix the food chain, wonderful and successful business. But it certainly is not anything to do with the reason why I started Farm Drop. I started Farm Drop because I wanted to find a way to feed my family in a way that was actually kind to the planet, kind to animals, good for our health. And the bit that Tracy's going to concentrate on today is kindness to animals, and she's done a lot of really amazing work, which I've invited her to tell us about. The other reason why it's good timing to do this today is that we could probably all do a little bit of pick me up, having been burgled again over the weekend. I'm happy to say that our burglary data is looking much better, in that none of us lost our laptops. So well done for coming up with a solution. But I know it's pretty grim. We're in a banged up old warehouse that's about to be knocked down, so our landlords just aren't helping us on this matter. We are going to be moving to a wonderful new home, and that's going to happen at some point towards the beginning of the summer. Probably June is the right month to think about for that. So you know, let's crack on, not worry about that. Let's focus on doing wonderful things, and with that, I'm going to hand over to Tracy.
Thank you. Hi. Now I have an enormous thank you because I get one of your boxes every week. And I love them, and I'm actually vegan. And so we have a vegan office, and it's just delicious, and I just know everything is right, even if it doesn't necessarily have the symbol or one of the important symbols. I know that it's local, and as local as possible anyway. Now, I also know how hard it is to do a business like this, because I once had something called natural vegetables at Badminton. And I had a little stall, and I had a box scheme for about 40 people, and I had the farmer's market. And frankly, you know, it went under, you know, it was just too expensive and too many people saying, what's cheaper in the supermarket? So, well done, you. It's hard. Now, I worked for about 30 years in the environmental movement, largely sort of networking and fundraising and a bit of public speaking and a bit of writing. And basically, I've gone on to recognize that if we go on as single issue campaigns, looking at the breakdown of society really and every subject, you know it's greenhouse effect, too many plastics, too much pig feces in the water, into the rivers and the seas, and the eutrophication and the corporate takeover of our lives. And I would just reckon that we have to look at, if we're single issue, it's like shifting chairs on the Titanic. We really have to look at increasing globalization of everything in our lives. And it's the corporations that are able to comb the globe for cheaper labor, lower environmental standards, cheaper currencies, lower standards at work. So in the food system, it's always in the name of, we have to feed the world, so we've got to increase the amount of food. Well, frankly, it's not about food. It's about corporations and their shareholders and the business people in it taking all the profits. Yes, they're feeling mighty guilty because we're after them now, but destruction of the planet and very limited and really pretty bad quality food, except for, of course, what you're doing, which is so exciting. But Monsanto, it doesn't even pretend to be feeding the world because it hasn't got more products. It doesn't have more crops coming out. It's just genetically engineered. I'm sure you know all about it. But we don't need it at all. We don't need to increase food production. We've got enough. We just need to distribute it fairly so that there's not 1 billion people going to bed hungry and actually 1 billion people overweight. All over the world, this weight issue is just a real serious problem. So I decided to focus on the pig industry because I could then have one issue that could connect to the global. And this is an amazing system when it's done right, which you obviously only source from when it's done right, either outdoor or indoors with plenty of straw, and not like this, where they're confined, they're bored, there's no rooting material, and the mum is, while she's feeding, is always in that tight little cage. It's just outrageous. So I've been working a lot with the various groups, but I decided that we're talking to the converted a lot of the time, so I turned to film. And I made a couple of films, one in India about this wonderful man who's a Gandhi follower, and he's telling people to get their land rights because the land grab is so appalling. And then in Bhutan, it's about gross domestic happiness. It shouldn't be about gross domestic product. It needs to be about the quality of what we're eating. And then I did a film for BBC World, and they went, oh, no way, we're going to get sued, we're so scared. And so Channel 4 took it, and Smithfield did try to sue them. But actually, they fortunately spent a lot of time legalizing it. And this is a short trailer for the
Agribusiness is taking over, poisoning, bankrupting, and enslaving.
The hogs dump their feces and urine on the floor. It goes under the hog house out to a lagoon. They slop it on the fields. It comes off into the ditches, and it goes right down to our streams, creeks, and rivers. Basically untreated waste.
When it's spring, you just cut your breath off. And you get like phlegm in your throat, your eyes start running, and you just get a headache.
What we have is the application of industrial systems that were designed to build cars and build machines to living creatures.
Uprzejmie zapytujemy, kiedy pan minister opracuje normy zanieczyszczeń dla środowiska odnośnie zanieczyszczeń odorami.
Could you please tell us what are your concerns?
Ja chcę czyste powietrze, żeby nie śmierdziało, żeby moja wnusia żyła w czystym powietrzu, zdrowo, tak? Żeby mogła żyć naprawdę zgodnie z przyrodą i żeby nie było korupcji.
one of these facilities puts out 1 billion antibiotic-resistant bacteria every day that crosses the property line and threatens the health of people who live downwind of those facilities.
We've got a system here which is actually causing the pigs to be carrying dangerous infections which are going to come home and haunt us. And meat which may appear very cheap could be at the cost of our own lives.
This is the Walmartization and commoditization of every product.
The whole mission of the European Bank has been to industrialize Central and Eastern European agriculture, pushing out small farmers, opening it up to takeover by foreign corporations.
My się z tym nie zgadzamy i to jest nie do przyjęcia, bo to są typowe praktyki monopolistyczne.
Ja już ciągniki posprzedawałem prasę, żeby dokonać to, co mam. I kończę, bo nie wiem, czy pójdę na emeryturę, czy co zrobię, czy wyjadę.
They're homogenizing and they're diminishing quality of life. We need a revolution now to fight against the corporate feudalism that is embodied so much by this industry, that is eroding everything and subverting everything that we care about.
The consumer ultimately has the power. They can say whether they buy cheap pork, they don't care where it's produced or how it's produced or the quality of it. Ultimately, if the consumer refuses to buy that and prefers to buy meat which is a high welfare standard produced in an environmentally sensitive way, then we'll be on to a winner, you know.
Okay, so basically some of that's in America, but it's also, Smithfield went to Poland thanks to $100 million from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So that's a subsidy, massive subsidies, and at the moment we're seeing this in Northern Ireland, massive subsidies going to build pig factories. So the film Pig Business, I took it to the House of Commons, the EU, and to Capitol Hill, and then we were asked by sort of 7 different countries, come, we've got a horrible pig factory by us, please help us close it. And this one in Chile, which was going to have 2.5 million pigs in these pig sheds, it got closed. And it's all because of local campaigners. But actually, when you go out there with a big camera, they're scared, because that meat comes to the EU. There's a derogation in the EU law that allows Chilean meat to come here. And I spoke to a processor, somebody who imports it, and there's just no way can we afford EU pork if we're a British farmer, let alone Chilean pork. So anyway, I then started to concentrate on the UK, and I got celebrities, and I used small films through social media. And these are the films that I would love it if you would use as content to get the message out. This is a sort of typical...
We tend to think our bacon comes from farms like this. The reality is, 3/4 of the pork eaten in the UK has been produced in factory farms.
Cramming into very, very confined spaces obviously really unacceptable.
You don't have to make it just suffer like that.
I eat meat, but for me, to eat the meat of animals that have been raised inhumanely, cruelly, somehow seems to take my own humanity.
To keep them alive, they need routine doses of antibiotics.
Antibiotics overuse is causing antibiotic-resistant diseases in pigs that can then pass to humans,
bringing us ever closer to the end of antibiotics as a cure for human diseases.
Cruelty to pigs is also cruelty to humans.
We're not asking you to stop eating bacon, just to eat bacon that comes from a natural, cruelty-free environment.
I decided to only eat meat that is marked RSPCA sure or has the word organic, outdoor bred, free range on the packet. Please do the same.
For the same price, you can buy 2 sausages from a factory farm or 1.5 sausages from a high welfare farm.
Turn your nose up to pig factories.
Turn your nose up.
Turn your nose up.
Turn your nose up at pig factories.
Okay, so then we asked loads more celebrities to send us a selfie like that, so that they would send it out, we would send it out. And it's just planting little seeds in people's mind when they see it on their Facebook page. So there's Moby, Stephen Fry, Joanna Lumley, so all these people getting involved. So then we did a film, a series with chefs and their farmers.
Turn my nose up at that way of rearing pork, intensive indoor rearing of pigs.
But how could you do that? Bad as child labour.
Factory pork farming.
So basically, you've got a system where the real costs are not internalized into the cost of the pork, but anything can go at the till. And that's why you're so important, so people can source from you instead, where the true cost is what they pay for. So there's animal welfare, there's human health, there's destruction of the economy, there's destruction of the rainforest because the soya and the grains given to feed them. And the 25% of all antibiotics used in this country go to pigs to keep them alive. And you saw in the first film about the waste, and there's so much, hundreds of thousands of tons of feces that go into the rivers and the sea. And the Sustainable Food Trust did an excellent true cost analysis, and they say that we've got a £120 billion food industry. And if you add up all the external costs, it's another £120 billion. So we should be paying double than what we do at the supermarket till for the sort of food which is cheap and just not good in any way to us, to the animals, to the environment. And their excuse is always, oh, you have to compete with the cheap. And that's what the problem with globalization is, because you get better regulations here. For example, we banned the crate where the mother pig is in a cage you can't turn around for all of her pregnancy. But we did that 10 years before the rest of Europe. And I'm afraid to say what happened was that the supermarkets just imported the cheaper from abroad. So we lost half of our pig herd. But the good thing was that now 40% of the pigs in this country are born outside because of that ban. So, it's very, very worrying, this sort of total globalization. Now, this very twitty-looking man, Michael Gove, he has actually come up trumps. All of the movement absolutely couldn't bear to start with, but he's gone with Zach Goldsmith and met with a hell of a lot of the NGOs. And his paying public money for public goods has been actually answering a lot of the NGOs' asks. So we just have to hope that he trumps over him. And he's called Liam Fox. And he's basically going around wanting trade treaties, particularly with America. So American pigs, just one example, they give them this horrible injection, which is called Paline, which makes them grow 16% faster than in a normal factory farm. So it's not even, they're fast growing because they're fed grain and they're in tight compartments so they can't move, so they can't spend their energy. Now, we have to stop him with his trade bill, and his 80% of the antibiotics in America are given to animals. Okay, so it's so much worse there. So it would undermine us. And then we've got Jeremy Corbyn, who's got some really good policies of what they're going to do to help British farmers, small farmers, and he's going to ban the farrowing crate. That's the one where the mother's feeding in a cage so tight. But really, do we want to leave it to them, or do we want to get the people? So that's my mission, is to actually get our message really as far out as possible. That's why I use celebrities and try to use kind of fun film. But we have to watch out, because obviously in the supermarkets they lie and they give charming names to labels that aren't anything to do with a charming woodside farm. It comes from a factory. And then, you know, the lies of the happy pig when the pig's been in a cage. And Richmond, which is really expensive, the pigs have had a diabolical life. And I actually interviewed the head of Richmond once, and I said there's a voluntary code which says that you need to put all the country of origin of your pig on that label. And he said, not in your life. All of our pigs come from all over Europe. We're not going to say where they come from. So one of the projects we do is we do vox pops, and we ask people, would you buy meat from a high wild? They say, yeah, I would, but it's more expensive, and what difference does I do it would happen if I do it on my own, you know, big deal. So we're trying to kind of make it a movement and then encourage them to eat less but better meat. So better means belly and all of these parts, rather than the very expensive stuff which just the supermarkets promote. Doesn't even mean it's any better. It's just what people are used to. And you saw that it's 2 sausages from a factory pig farm or 1.5 from a happy pig farm. Well, thanks to your work and Viva, you know, the vegans and the films that we put out and lots of effort in the movement, actually there's been an increase in our SPCA assured meat that's being sold. And apparently a YouGov survey found out that 50% of people are actually becoming conscientious consumers and looking at the welfare on the label and trying to make sure that everything is good. Now, I would love you to help me help you, which is so do you know any pig farmers?
Anybody started this for my pets? Doesn't matter to me, as long as the pets have a happy life.
And then we also want to kind of slightly make them laugh. It's got 62,000 views.
Do they have an animal welfare label on them?
I don't know, look for yourself.
No, we can't eat these. They'll be factory farmed pigs.
Who cares? Just pass them here.
It's not bad. Little tiny NGO that we are. So basically, we're doing a lot of work with a lot of NGOs, and we want to stop factory farms. So we're the sort of go-to group. If somebody's got the threat of a factory farm for pigs coming near them, they often come to us and say, help, what should we do? And we try to get them pro bono lawyers or help fundraise to get them a report done. And we go down there, we show them films, and we're fighting a horrible pig. It'll be the biggest pig factory in the UK if it comes on in Limavady, Northern Ireland. So we're trying to find a very famous man or woman to fight that, because where Game of Thrones was filmed. So we're trying to get somebody from the Game of Thrones. So bottom line, what we'd love is to get the message out so more people stick to you. So how about putting our leaflets in your boxes, or post our films? You know, they're for free. My mission is just to get more people to buy from you, basically, and buy the high welfare stuff. And we'd also like to do a film with you, Ben. So then, you know, because running this is absolutely so amazing, and oh my God, dream on when I see a bus going past with farm drop on it. It's like, wow, you know, we're getting there, it's happening, and a huge poster in the tube. It's like, gosh, you know, it's, anyway, I'm really impressed. So I just thought I would, you know, open this up to questions, but these are the labels, so if you want to see them a little bit more in detail, And then this is the factory farm that we helped the locals stop in Foston, Derbyshire. All of that is now a field with grazing, and it was going to be this 17-shed factory pig farm just by a women's prison and villagers. And basically the lawyer we got, who was for human rights, he was working with the European Court of Human Rights, he said if one of these women have an antibiotic-resistant disease, they could sue the council, because it's so common knowledge now that it's antibiotic-resistant bacteria that comes out of those sheds. And the council, I think, got scared and just, haven't done it. And then there's our directory. So this is where we ask people to go to their local, find their local farm shop or farm drop. I mean, we need to kind of know if you're in Bristol, because we want to have something down there. Anyway, thank you very, very much, and please ask questions.
Any questions?
Labelling seems like a pretty confusing. I know you've got the examples there, but does stuff you buy in supermarkets claims to be free range? Is that a guarantee that I'm buying high welfare?
Well, to be honest, I would go with trusting it, simply because compared to the stuff which has got no label, where you absolutely know it's come from a factory farm, that's so bad. And Red Tractor is just the basic minimum of British standards. So, the supermarkets, they will get exposed. I mean, lots of, the wrong labels, and people are, really getting hot on these issues. So I think it'd be very unlikely that a free-range farm was not doing what it's told. Having said that, occasionally we have caught farmers that are not entirely telling the truth. And in my book, it's because if you've got a system where the supermarket is prepared, and for example, I went round a factory farm, and I went again to do it Facebook Live, and I got caught, and the guy was absolutely furious. And I said, cool down, I'm not revealing your name or the name of the farm, because I'm actually sorry for you to have to lie. So, obviously, as far as anybody coming around here, there's no pigs outside, and yet on your website it shows pigs outside. And then they're at one of the farmers' markets, and it's all kind of like a big lie. There's lots of straw and their little outdoor bits. Bollocks. They're all inside, and it's really covered in feces, and the pigs are sick. And he actually said that he was once RSPCA assured, but Sainsbury's gave his pork back because people weren't prepared to pay the premium. So that's why we have to keep up. So you have to use me to keep people, i.e. my content, to keep people coming to you, so that you can grow, which is so much better for the farmers, because you really are sourcing from the good farmers. So that guy would have been good, that one who caught me, and he said he'd recently changed his entire herd because they were totally addicted to antibiotics, because the conditions were so bad that they just constantly get pneumonia. It's partly the pneumonia they get, it's partly because of the ammonia from the biodegrading feces that is so all over the place, because they had no straw. Even though actually it is an EU law that you have to give pigs a manipulable material, okay? But all of the countries in the EU ignore it, because when all the countries ignore it, why should one country enforce it? So there's a big campaign at the moment from Eurogroup for Animal Welfare, where people are asked, all the NGOs, to get their members to write to our minister, for example, in England, to enforce the law. Now, Michael Gove might well do that, because outside of Europe now, he could actually even say nothing has come in that's not up to our standard, which is largely better than Europe still, because even though when they're pregnant, we banned that crate, and in 2013, so did the EU, but only partially. So for 1 month of their 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 day pregnancy, those mother pigs are still in a cage, and it's It's so sad to see them. They're so miserable. I've got a great film with their little noses peeking out.
What's your position about the how they get to the end of life? Like, do you have any, I don't know, things that are better than other things there? Do you have any information around that, or any labels that communicate how, for example, the pig was slaughtered? Because I've seen different methods of that. I don't know which one is best.
I would definitely say organic is best, because they have to be separately slaughtered. Do you know, the awful thing is, I don't really know, because I haven't done the slaughter. That's not, you know, for me, people say, why don't you do more than pigs? And it's like, my brain is only this tiny size and I can't get more information when you have to know, you know, because these are people's livelihoods. These are farmers, and it's farmers that I want to make into these heroes, because they feed us. At the moment, the flipping heroes are people who make our iPhones and computers, but actually what's more important is who feeds us. So I want more farmers to stay in business, so to up their standards. So I definitely say, yeah, please, people buy organic. But it is up to people to find out what is the standard that they're prepared to buy, spend the money on. And I don't know if RSPCA has any different abattoir than the others. So, and I know that you should stun them before they die. But I'd like to see them not travel from the market. I'd like to see the slaughter lorry go to the farms. And these are small farms. I want to see more small farms. And thanks to you, you do source from small farms. And I hope you don't get out-competed by somebody who manages to get a box scheme full of factory farm stuff. You know, it's always hard to compete. This bloody word competition. We shouldn't be competing. We should be nurturing and encouraging and sharing skills of real farmers and how to make it work. And I'd like you to get... Anyway, there are probably other people who do wonderful boxes that are in different areas, right? So maybe you get on with them. And how do you manage that?
Well, I mean, it's fascinating, all of this. Our whole thing about being efficiency junkies is that we can bring really high welfare meat to customers at similar or not miles away from the price of the really bad stuff, and that's why the business is growing so well. I think it's because we're the first really credible option that you can eat in a very sustainable way, but not pay through the nose for it. And yeah, we're always pro collaboration. But what we find is that people who had, so Rowie Mears, who's come to mind, she's gone from sort of, she'll sell probably £250,000 of food through Farm this year, and every time we go and see her and her amazing pigs, there are a few more of them, and they are outside and they're having a lovely time, and they're the good ones. They're the ones that you want to see. She's wound down her wholesale business and her box scheme stuff, because actually that's just really hard work for her versus being able to sell through Farm Drop. So a lot of the issues are around the inefficiencies of those box schemes actually. And they aren't very easy to use, and they make food very expensive.
Yeah. So in a way, your being bigger is actually better for small scale farmers to sell through you rather than being a small scale farmer and having a box scheme and going to farmers markets. You know, they're just going bankrupt, sadly. So we need to just get more messages to people. And that fact that it's not much more expensive, when people know the true cost. And actually, you know, do we trust our politicians? It needs to be much more, come on, we're up there on our own, really. Because globalization is the name of the game now. And the push is always to compete globally. And we need to get people to kind of buy their story they want to see in their life and their children's life. Where the soil's looked after, the water's looked after, the animals are looked after. We have antibiotics to treat us in the future.
Absolutely. Final questions? Jenna?
You did have some statistics around the increased public awareness of standards when buying products. Has that translated at all into the viability of farming on a smaller scale for the farmers? Has that given them any increase to be able to make it versus the factories in the UK?
Well, I reckon so, just because if RSPCA is only in the UK, so that's giving the UK farmers a step to get better, because, you know, red tractor is just not good enough. So the more people who recognise they have to buy the better stuff. And then I guess that statistic of 50% when people are really thinking means they're actually looking. And we just need to make sure that they look for welfare labels and not just red tractor, because that's really not good. But at least it's British. I mean, the scary thing is that, you know, if you've got stuff coming in from Chile and Poland and potentially America, it's like, no. And how do we stop that until... I reckon that Jeremy Corbyn is the one who will really put a stop on this global trade if that Liam Fox gets his way. But we'll see.
See, that's a good cliffhanger to end on. Look, thanks so much. Of course, it'd be an honour to contribute to anything film-wise. Love to, absolutely love to. These are the sorts of meetings which really certainly get me really pumped up about just forging ahead and making it happen, because we've got to do it. There's no alternative, frankly. So thank you very much. Please join me in thanking Tracy for coming in.
Thank you so much for providing this alternative to the supermarket. You know? Keep growing. Growth with you lot.